I've got that radiant glow, that sweet, glorious blue. And radiant
Hello there, and welcome to the Green Vault Podcast, a lore-based podcast delving into the world of Fallout and its locations, be they eerily spooky, weirdly funny, quirkily strange, or wonderfully benign. So join me, your host, Red, as we take a look at today's location and discuss every aspect from architecture, quests, loot, sound, and game design. So welcome, dear listener, let's delve into today's location. We're heading into Fallout 3 as the Lone Wanderer. On the southeastern side of the map, in the decaying ruins of Washington, D.C., you can find a place unvisited by many players, Takoma Park. A small shopping centre filled with super mutants and a few locations to visit. You'll ascend the steps from the Vernon East Takoma Park subway station into the rubble-strewn streets. Above overhangs a bridged road, and the street itself is filled with detritus and the shells of vehicles, including a city liner bus. Tightly packed brown brick buildings line the uphill street leading ahead, broken up with the grey of concrete. Signs and billboards litter the sky around you. Turning around, you can see the ruins of many apartment buildings, mostly sagging and barely standing in the distance. You can also see the Washington Monument to the southwest, a point of reference for those who know where it is. This is a linear area leading from the subway entrance to Takoma Industrial. So, the enemies in this area are super mutants. Funnily enough, they have a scripted event when you enter the location. Two are patrolling the road down towards you, along with a third a little further back wielding a missile launcher. Even if they don't see you, the missile launcher wielding super mutant will, for fun I guess, fire a missile at the vehicles near you. Now, when I was watching this happen, the missile launcher mutant was standing further up on the street and his two buddies were among the vehicles in question. The missile was fired, exploding a vehicle. Now, for those who don't know, vehicles in Fallout all explode massively. I think it's implied that they have small nuclear reactors or some such as they explode with a mini mushroom cloud. So as you can imagine, the two super mutants among the vehicles are blown up completely. The chain reaction caused several vehicles to explode. All of this happening without your input, which to me is always a fun thing to witness. It's those little joys in life, you know? The main street has only one building to enter, the Nifty Thrifties, a shop on the corner near the metro entrance. It has one of those retro classic signs rendered in steel outside. It says 99 cents, we buy and sell, Nifty Thrifties, fast cash, stereo, TV, gun, pots and pans, computers, tools, cars, new, used. And yes, that's exactly how all the words are written, so words like gun does not have the S on the end for some reason. Inside is a tight 4 rooms filled with appliances and knickknacks for sale. It genuinely feels like a small house that someone just walked through and slapped for sale signs onto everything. The sign does say that they buy and sell cars, though I don't know where they actually store the damn things either. The only real thing that bugs me about this place is when you enter and hover your cursor over the door, it says door to Nifty Thrifty, without a space between Nifty and Thrifty, but it does capitalize the N and the T. It also is missing the apostrophe S that the sign has as well. I am aware this seems petty and pedantic, but it does bug me. Heading up the street, you'll notice the signs disappear quickly. When you first enter this place, it feels like there's signs everywhere, but aside from the Nifty Thrifties, the boarded up bank and the closed off cornucopia fresh grocers, there aren't any more. There's 3 billboards above too, however, giving the impression of a filled commercial street. It has that feeling of running out of time, that they were only able to get a few signs in before having to stop and focus elsewhere in Fallout 3, probably. I mean, that's the impression that I personally got. As you walk up the hill, you get this great vibe of a once busy commercial area. Pot plants, small concrete fences, and a generous supply of lampposts make it feel like a more affluent area. The compacted buildings give way to a split in the road, curving left or right. The right stops quickly, with rubble making it impassable. The left is the way forward. A signpost denotes this main road as Carroll Street. At this split in the road, a massive apartment building stands in front of you, many floors with balconies, although if you have a look closely, you'll see that there's no doors actually leading to those balconies. It's no doubt a time-saving thing. In the time crunch that no doubt existed making this game, it's just quicker to whip these up without any actual doors or what have you, or thinking too hard about it. I mean, in the end, only pedantic people like me would notice and care. This building and the ones around give off the air of a higher class structure. The ground level has these bronze-coloured awnings, and the walls are studded with these large steel ornaments of a head poking out of what seems to be like a shield. The heads look like they're wearing the under armour of someone that might be suited up to go into space or in power armour. The buildings at either side of this split are curved quite nicely, with copper accents that curve up the tiered buildings and brick columns that hold up their overhanging parts. Before we continue on into this area, the last thing you'll find is a Pulaski Preservation Shelter. It's at the foot of the mega apartment ahead. This is an upright steel tube bolted into the ground. A push-operated coin slot juts out and operates upon activating the door. It's big enough for one person to stand in. At a push, you could probably shove about 2 or 3 people standing in there, but it would be very uncomfortable. In this preservation shelter is a body of a wastelander in a puddle of blood and an ammo crate. Very strangely, this wastelander still blinks. You can hit them, whatever you want to do, but they don't move. They're not actually alive, but they lie there, blinking. It's a very creepy error. I reloaded to see if he would still blink, and no, on the second time he wasn't. So it's very strange. In fact, this time on the reload, the Super Mutant didn't patrol the area and shoot the missile either, which is again curious. Though, to be expected with Fallout's engine, I guess. Now back to the path of this area. The left road is flanked by the continued brown bricks on the left and the mega apartment on the other side. A scrapped fenced square with sandbags contains a tent inside with 2 rusted bed frames, one with a mattress, the other has 2 first aid boxes on it and 2 ammo crates as well. The Super Mutants from earlier guard this area if they didn't head down the road. Just ahead, the road ends, blocked by piles of debris, but you can head left through a house. The house has sandbags out the front and the stairs are blocked by purposely placed furniture, giving you the environmental storytelling vibe of people being here before the Super Mutants took over, as does the tent in the camp. Those beds are way too small for Super Mutants after all. The building has this wavy air around the oven. This is a fun game mechanic in which some areas are filled with gas. You can shoot the area, causing fire to roar out and damage any within. There's not actually any enemies around this part, so I guess it's just a bit more environmental. Heading out the back door of the home, you're greeted with a small white picket-fenced backyard surrounded by rock. Some homes to the left have their own backyards, but you can't get into them actually, there's an invisible wall. The neighbouring home has a couch and broken fridge in the backyard, and a swing set sits idly by. Heading out the gate, you pick your way down a track leading to a fenced-off industrial area, though the rusted fence has long since collapsed. You've now left Takoma Park proper, but this is sort of still the same area. It's kind of meant to be one long linear level. A large blocky building surrounds what probably would have been an area for deliveries to the Takoma Industrial factory. A water system has sprung a leak, causing an area to be flooded, and of course, toxic barrels lace the surrounding water, because why not, it's Fallout of course. More Super Mutants guard the area as the factory has now become a sort of stronghold for the creatures. You can head inside via a door in this area. This is the location called Takoma Industrial. It's a relatively small factory, with only a few rooms accessible. Rusted metal shelves and boxes give way to more rusted metal further in. A single machine can be found on the main floor with some products still on the line. Abraxo Scouring Powder, an in-universe cleaning product. Upstairs is an area with a rusted shell of an overseer-type area that looks over the main floor. The rooms throughout are dusty, lit with streaming light coming through grimy windows and a few burning barrels, no doubt maintained by the mutants. Well, I assume they are. You can find a working terminal in the overseer-type area as well. Well, you think you do. Activating it causes it to spark, then explode in your face. There is another exit to this factory leading out the back on an upper floor. It exits you out onto the mid-level roofing of the factory at the back. I quite like this little hidden area. You walk down a thin walkway. To your left is a large array of piping plunging into a concrete canal filled with water. All avenues are blocked with debris, and even one has a large truck with a carriage piled on top. You'll find this here and throughout Takoma Park. Vehicles piled atop rubble, which doesn't really make sense when you think about it, unless a rubble slide moved them there or they were on a bridge that collapsed or something like that, but it's one of those visually cool but don't think about it type things, I feel like. Just ignore it and go, oh, that looks cool. The walkway actually has a tripwire trap, dropping grenades onto you if you aren't careful. At this point as well, you may look to the left and see over the canal that there are some metal sheets creating a small place to jump to on some pipes. This is easy to miss and makes me wonder if the trap is placed to get you to look around, perhaps some sneaky game design to encourage this. There's also the frame of a metal structure that can be jumped on and get across as well. If you fall into the canal, the frame also makes a good ramp to climb back up. These two ways across the channel lead to an even more hidden area. Down a narrow alley and around a very hidden corner, you'll exit out into a crater. Highly irradiated. Green particles hang in the air as the water-filled crater sits before you. Running along the edge, you'll find an abandoned covered area. Very small, just 2 long shelves with a metal sheet roof, a mattress and a desk with a terminal. It also has a radiation suit on the shelf, handy for all the rads you're currently eating, along with a good supply of Radaway and Rad-X. The terminal is a research terminal by Isabella Proud. There are several entries about her research into feral ghouls. I'll read them to you. These are all journal entries, and it starts with day 45. Jason found a terminal suitable to our needs in the nearby ruins. With some work, we may be able to move this workstation closer to where our research has been taking place. Must keep an eye out for a portable source of power. Must remember to translate my notes onto this thing when I have some time to do so. While Jason was scavenging the ruins, I caught a glimpse of the group by the pool in the afternoon. Contrary to what most people think, they don't fear the daylight at all, but they do seem to prefer indoor habitats. Day 51. I've conducted an informal experiment this week. I filled some heavy basins with water, each with different levels of radiation. Consistent with my predictions, they seem to prefer water with high rad content. Thanks to these radiation suits, I was able to irradiate one of the basins with a typically lethal level of radiation. And to my amazement, this has worked better than any of our attempts at constructing a lure to attract them into our research area. This is very exciting. Day 53. Jason recovered and repaired a generator which should allow us to move this terminal and some of my equipment out to a better position for observation of the group's behaviour. Day 58. Amazing! Today I was approached by one of them. I've decided to call her Melinda. I'm not actually sure if there's a way to establish gender, but Melinda moved in a way that appeared very feminine to me. She caught me off guard while I was checking water levels in the experimental basins. For a moment there, I wish I had taken that damned pistol Jason insisted upon me carrying. She grasped my arm, but instead of attacking, she appeared to sniff my arm where some of the scavenged resin I'd been using to irradiate the basins had spilled on my suit. Moments later, she was gone. Must consider some way of tagging them. Day 63. No sign of the group for days. Could Melinda have returned to the group with some news of our brief encounter? Perhaps they're scared of us. Jason's beginning to get concerned, but I believe we're close to learning what we came here for. The poor man's been through hell for me. I don't know if I could have achieved so much without him, but there's so much left to learn. Day 67. I insisted on sleeping at the research site last night, much to Jason's protest. I'm sure I saw motion in the far ruins, but the moon had slid behind a cloud, so I couldn't make out for certain their shapes. I don't think mutants would have moved like that, and most people in the city know enough to bunker down at night. Could it have been our group, returning home? Day 68. Slept outdoors again last night. Jason insisted on staying with me this time, and built a camouflage screen for us to sleep in. I irradiated the main body of water as heavily as I could to try and draw them out. My plan seems to have worked, because I saw a few, I think Melinda was among them, come into the open at dusk and settle into the water. After dark, one I believe to be the alpha male, I've called him Samuel, emerged with the rest of the group. I had to switch my Geiger counter off when they arrived to avoid being heard. I can't imagine the radiation levels that glowing ones must be infused with. I think that must be why he's the alpha. The others are so drawn to him because of his immense irradiation. Day 75. I need to make contact again. I've coated my suit in resin. I will try approaching the group tomorrow at dusk. Observation hasn't revealed anything new. Direct contact is required if I'm going to continue to learn about them. I know Jason would never understand, but this won't work if his suit isn't also irradiated. I'll coat it while he's gone scavenging during the afternoon, and we'll set up camp tonight by the water before dusk. And that's it. That's the last journal entry you get. Exiting the terminal spawns Isabella's alpha male, a glowing one. It spawns at the entrance to the crater and attacks you. The bodies of Isabella and Jason can be found in this area too, though a bug can cause them not to spawn, which is actually what I experienced. I wasn't actually able to find them at all, sadly. Of course, with a lot of these things, you never know exactly what has happened here. My personal theory is that in the journal, she mentions turning off her Geiger counter because I think it was making a noise and she didn't want to get caught. I have a feeling that they were also both getting heavily irradiated, and without the Geiger counter, Jason never knew. So no doubt her coating them both heavily in irradiated resin led to them both succumbing to radiation poisoning. They had radiation suits, but I think those can only do so much. Coating yourself fully in resin that's irradiated so heavily probably still gets through the suit. That's my personal interpretation of it all anyway. I do like a bit of research that you get on feral ghouls as well, because for some reason they didn't attack these people either. Maybe because of the radiation, I don't know. Feral ghouls exclusively seem to attack anything that isn't a ghoul, so mayhaps it's a radiation level they detect and that's how they discern friend from foe. Well, it's food for thought indeed. There's one little last area in here. You can climb over some rubble and find a skeleton with some generic style loot, but there's no way out other than the way you came back in. So once you leave the area and back over the canal, you can continue moving forward. Your ear may catch the sound of a radio as you head down, leading to a tent in an alley. A car sits with its front end jutting out over in the canal, as if it was only just stopped by the metal railing it destroyed. The tent has 2 chairs outside and a burning campfire. Inside is various furniture, and on a bed is the body of a Talon Company mercenary. The radio is tuned to the Enclave channel and sits on a desk in this well-appointed, well for the wasteland, tent. Again, more visual storytelling of a mercenary set up comfortably, but no doubt the Super Mutants saw to him as well. The Talon Mercenary Company is an evil mercenary group with no morals, doing the bidding of whoever pays the most. If you get enough good karma, a contract will be put out on you for 1,000 caps, which Talon Mercs will repeatedly try to collect throughout your adventures. They're in fact rather hostile to your general do-good nature. Various texts seem to imply that they are in fact rather hell-bent on ensuring that the wasteland stays rather lawless. I assume it's sort of a lawless wasteland is a wasteland that we can make a lot of caps in. There are 2 chairs outside the tent. This implies a second mercenary, and you actually find them a little later. An alleyway around the side leads to a wooden plank that leads over the fence to the outside of the factory area we were at before, finishing the exploration loop for this small area. The wooden planks are set up so that you can only go in one direction. You can't go back once you go over them. That way you can see them and know, oh wait, I can probably come back that way, but you can't get there at the moment. It's a great way to encourage exploration. Now, heading out the gate at the other end, you'll step onto a road, again surrounded by tall concrete buildings on one side, and the other has a huge water tower and rocks, all encased in huge piles of rubble. Several delivery trucks sit around, no doubt delivery trucks for the various factories in the area. You can run along some planks to get on top of one of the trucks and you'll find the other body of a mercenary up here, though this one actually doesn't have the Talon Merc gear, it's just wearing more generic mercenary stuff. They were sitting at a table with 3 first aid boxes and a button. On his body you can find a note called Takoma Park Artillery Note. The note reads, Artillery Order Number 447, Talon Company Support Team Bravo, location Takoma Park. Establish position near the parking lot west of the factory and monitor the enemy movement. 3 squads will be dispatched once you are in position. Their objective is to retake our old positions in Takoma Park. Your directive is to provide artillery support when they arrive. The coordinates have been encoded on the switch provided. Call in the strikes once Alpha Squad established a base of fire outside the blast range. All of this lets you know that this juicy button here in front of you calls in some artillery, which you can very much do. I'm sure much to many people's delight. And to mine as well, I have no qualms in saying. It's rather good that the button is there, because ahead is a parking lot with a behemoth super mutant in it. It gets slammed with the artillery when you fire it. 2 strikes hit every time you hit the button in a sort of random-ish area in the parking lot. After 5 button presses, however, you can hear and see sparking coming from the button and it stops working. If you have the skill, you can repair the button. Which then seems to work infinitely after that. At the very least, you can injure the behemoth if you can't repair it. But if you can kind of just sit there spamming the button for quite some time and eventually you'll get it. There's a lot of vehicles in the parking lot as well, and they all explode fantastically too, which is nice. The parking lot is an open area with all exits blocked by rubble. A road backing the end of the area is the road you walked under at the beginning of this place. So this area could easily loop with the removal of a single pile of rubble, but I guess they decided to keep it linear. You would have needed to battle the behemoth without the artillery if that way wasn't blocked, so no doubt they wanted to keep it in a linear fashion, and the path leading to the finale, which would have been this behemoth fight. I think it was actually a pretty good decision, honestly. Heading left and running into the behemoth or accidentally aggravating it and having it chase after you would have been a bit annoying. You get to experience the full area going at it this way and keeping it linear. The last little area to explore is a small building, the Takoma Motor Service and Repair. You can enter it either by a standard door or the garage door. Inside, the eerie music picks up. A single orange light glows at the door's entrance. Looping around, you stand in the garage area. 2 hanging lights sit above the shell of a car in the garage. A radio is on, set to a channel of static. With the sparse lighting, creepy music, ominous tones of the radio static, and dust drifting down in the air, it's quite a tense place to visit, even if it's just 3 rooms with nothing really in it. But yes, a nice little creepy, ominous area to sort of cap off the exploration of this place. It's a little weirdly placed, but I guess it's one of those mayhaps we ran out of time things and maybe something was going to lead here, but nothing came of it. But yes, that is it. That is all the areas explored and all things seen. Now, I normally like to talk about quests in the area that either lead to this area or are involved with it, but there aren't any, in fact. This place is completely optional and fully missable for sure. Nothing even makes you swing by this area, as it were. So, moving on from that, in regards to loot, you can find a few things, but not that much. There's a Takoma Park Little Leaguer cap. It's a unique baseball cap found in the Nifty Shifties. It's a red baseball cap with no other markings, but increases explosives by 5, melee weapons by 5, and another additional 5 to melee damage with baseball bats, making it a bit more of a unique thing for someone who mayhaps is role-playing as a baseball bat-wielding melee person. Of course, you only get the boost if you're actually wearing the cap, but if you are, you would theoretically get plus 10 if you were wielding a baseball bat, which is pretty nice. In the factory, you can find a Lying Congress-style book on a bookshelf. This increases speech permanently by 1. Though it's generic loot, which I usually don't mention, there are 81 boxes of Abraxo Cleaner found throughout the factory, if you really want to scour some grime, and I tell you what, Fallout has a lot of grime. The Takoma Motor Service and Repair also has a book as well, a US Army 30 handy flamethrower recipe skill book which increases your big guns skill by 1. And that's pretty much it. There's not a huge amount of loot to be found here. I suspect they didn't want to drop a sweet legendary or named weapon in this area because, well, there's nothing else really in this area to find. The only thing that would possibly draw you to this area is an achievement. I don't include that sort of stuff in my quests or loot or what have you because I don't think it's that much of an important thing, but yeah, that's the only thing that lists this place as a need for something. and you have to take down all 5 behemoths throughout the wasteland, one of them being here in Takoma Park. The only other real things about this area is that Takoma Park is a real-life city, Takoma Park, Maryland. I don't know if it's based off it or anything like that, but that's, there's a connection there at least. And that finally there is a bug in the area which allows you to get outside of the normal map. There's some geometry you can glitch through or, just pass through because there's not proper collision there and get outside the map, and apparently you can just run around back to the metro area and get back in it again. But yeah, that's it really. And yes, as always, I like to talk about my final thoughts about the area. It's an area I personally don't even know if I've visited before. I've played Fallout 3 pretty extensively over the years, but I genuinely don't remember coming to this area. You have to get here through a station, so it's entirely possible I just missed that station entrance, or I am a bit of a scaredy cat, and probably when I was playing these games back in the day very extensively, I was even more so. So coming down to an ominous metro where I don't know where it goes, I might have decided against it, to be honest. I think the station you come through is filled with mirelurks and what have you, so it's quite a creepy crawly type place as well. But yes, how do I feel about the area itself? I like the aesthetics of the commercial area. It's rather unique. I don't recall personally finding anything else that's quite like it, which is rather weird considering how out of the way it is. I really have that feeling that there was going to be some quests here, potentially some important things, but there's just nothing. This really feels like an area that was going to be important, or at the very least have at least bare minimum 2 quests that led you here, but nothing came of it apparently. I'm sure there's mayhaps mods that utilize this area. I mean, I don't make mods, but if I did and I was playing this game, I would have found this area and been, wow, I can put several stuff here because there's no scripts that I really have to bother with or what have you, nothing interfering. I can just go there and do what I want. I could have easily seen a quest about dealing with the Super Mutants themselves. Mayhaps it was they were putting the Abraxo in some water or something like that, or using it to do something, so you need to go there and stop them. Perhaps finding Isabella's research. Someone sends you out to find her. That also feels like that may have been a thing but just didn't come to fruition. I do like finding that story as well about Isabella and Jason and her doing that stuff, and that general lack of understanding of radiation and just how dangerous and horrible it actually is. It's something that's very much lost on the people. Even pre-war, they were sort of kind of not really that careful with it. But post-war, bloody hell, people just don't know. I mean, there's just not a huge amount of education in the wasteland, and yeah, I mean, it's also a bit wibbly-wobbly with the science behind it because, of course, it mutates people and you can get perks that make you have radiation powers and what have you, which, yes, most people would just die horrifically of radiation poisoning, not get these magic powers. But yeah, it's nice to come across a behemoth. I can imagine what it would be like back in the day playing this game for the first time and you stumble into this area and you find your way around and get to that artillery thing where you can destroy the behemoth, and that's quite fun. And I do love the scripted sequence. Well, of course it didn't happen the second time, but on the first time when that mutant just fires a missile launcher into the cars with his buddies around, it just explodes them all. I don't think Super Mutants have a great purpose of, preserving their brethren or what have you. They don't really care about that. All they care about is destroying anyone they think who is inferior, which is everyone that's not a super mutant. But yeah, it's a nice walk up a sort of high street commercial district with pretty grand looking apartment buildings around and a affluent type area leading to places that, well, they were very small houses with the white picketed fences at the back, but to live in that area, I mean, you know how expensive places can be in cities these days. Those places, despite how small they were, could have been quite a few penny, let's just say that for sure. And of course, because everything is, tighter and everything is smaller because you're sort of giving example sizes of the population and what have you, it probably would have been much grander, probably more signs around, more shops to go into. It definitely feels like one of those places you could easily just plop a door here or there for modding stuff as well. Though, of course, in saying that, it is a pretty out-of-the-way area, so unless someone actually knows about the mod, they still might miss the damn thing. But of course, that's when you create hooks outside the area to bring you to that area. And yes, this is one of the areas that I've tried to look into a little bit more beyond just going to the wiki to see if there's anything I've missed and, important loot that I may have not seen or getting the down low on all the quests that might lead there and what have you. But I tried to see if there was anything anywhere, but there's not very much behind the scenes stuff. I can't really find anyone talking about it. I found some old forum posts about how this is a really easy to miss area that some people recommend, hey, go see this because most people probably haven't found it. But apart from that, and of course, that's how I discovered that there's an achievement there. But apart from that, yeah, nothing really. But yes, that's pretty much it for the Takoma Park in Fallout 3. Anyway, I'd love to hear if you found this place or did you miss it too? You know, all that sort of good stuff. Let me know in the comments indeed. So thank you very much for listening, and please do leave a like and comment and all that good stuff if you enjoyed this episode. It really definitely helps out, especially when you're trying to get something off the ground like this. And especially a podcast in a world where just about every other single person has a podcast too. And I guess I'm one of those people now, aren't I? Oh, okay. And do subscribe if you want to keep hearing more from me, and I have more channels for you to check out, especially my Sanguine Red Games channel where I mostly play modded Fallout stuff with high quality edited Let's Plays. And always, thank you to the lovely independent Fallout Wiki, the place I use to cross-reference my own delves into the areas as well as, looting quests and such. So yes, that is all it for now, so thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.